Hello, everybody. This is the Vaquero podcast with the Radio Club. I want to give a special thank you to the GCC Veteran Center for allowing us to film this in their studio. With me is Marcus Kowal, MMA fighter for California Extreme Fighting, right?
I fought for a lot of different organizations, Strike Force, CXF, where I did my retirement fight, which is an Armenian fight organization, biggest in Southern California. So that's where I did my retirement fight with, and a lot of my fighters fight from there.
So retirement, right? I knew you retired, but did you come back to the sport?
Well, I did. I never officially retired before. What I did was I was just too busy. First, opening gyms. We have 4 gyms around LA, Systems Training Center. Then I became a father with Liam. I had an injury before that where I had my orbital bone broken. So I was out, but I hadn't officially retired. And I wanted to do a retirement fight. And CXF and George Bastamian, who owns it, said, if you want to do it with us, we'd be happy to have you. And they had done so much for our non-profit already and for my son Liam. And so I thought that was a great fit.
He's a cool guy. I've met him briefly.
Yes, a great guy. And then that was my retirement fight. But then, and I said to my wife, I said, if I say I'm going to fight again, don't let me. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from a Swedish promotion. And when I left Sweden, mixed martial arts was still illegal. So, being one of the first few to fight abroad, and it was almost like the circle was complete to be able to go back home and finish my career in my home city. And they did the whole event around the non-profit Liam's Life Foundation. So I couldn't really say no, and it was a beautiful way to end my career.
Yeah, doing Liam's Life. Last year you came by and you were still doing the Patreon, the getting support, change.org petitions, right?
Yes.
And you guys were working and talking to the people to try to get Bill what's the number?
1713.
1713, yeah, aka Liam's Law, to be into effect. And now, in February, it got pushed to actually being it's being voted on, or it's close to being voted on, right?
Correct. So since we started this nonprofit, we've been told this isn't going to happen. You're up against giants. Just forget about it. You won't be able to make that change. But I've never been good at taking no for an answer, and especially when I know what I'm fighting for is the right thing. The numbers when it comes to drunk driving deaths in the United States are they're shocking. They're insane. Nothing kills more people on the roads in America today than drunk driving. It's the deadliest and the costliest issue on the roads. And no other free, democratic country in the world has as many deaths per capita as America. So our goal was always to change that social attitude towards drunk driving, which is, educating and especially changing that attitude among the next generation. You want to make a difference, you change the youth. But also to lower the legal blood alcohol content level, like you said, the bill AB 1713. But it's very difficult to make a law change in America. You need to have an assembly member or a senator to take on the bill, to sponsor your bill. And we worked. It took us almost 2 years to get there. And finally, Assemblywoman Burke did take on the bill. We provided her with a lot of statistics and information, and she's been great. She had the courage to take on the bill, because politicians a lot of times they're scared of change too, because that affects the votings on them and their ratings and so on. But when
it's
she
probably
took
a lot of money too, maybe they get it from Budweiser or whatever, lobbyists exist everywhere, and they're trying to make it as easy for themselves as possible.
100%, and that's what's a bigger issue in America, not just when it comes to drunk driving, but the way that the system is set up. The idea behind lobbying is great, that you give the people a chance to have a voice heard, but when you allow for private companies to back or to pay lobbyists to take their their special interest to be voted on, then there's an issue. And that's what we see with this bill. Very few bills can be backed by as much statistic and as much science as our bill, Liam's law, to lower the BAC from 0.08 to 0.05. It's been done already in over 100 countries. We have the statistics from those countries. And it's not one of those things where you can say, well, it's a different culture, it's a different tradition. Alcohol is alcohol. Ethanol, which is alcohol, has the same effect on any brain. It doesn't matter what language you speak, what religion you practice, what culture you belong to. It's very black and white. You can't argue with science.
No.
Statistics are statistics. Can't argue with statistics. And we see in all those countries, in my opinion, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize if you lower the BAC level, the amount of deaths will go down.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, I was very shocked to see that there was an opposition. Because, this is something, again, that's been done so many times and proven to work.
I would think culturally, like, people would just, like, how, like, the party culture, like, just, like, thinking about Russians, Irish, all those things, like, everyone has, like, this proud thing, like, oh, drinking's fun, drinking's awesome, hold my beer, look what I can do, There's all these, like, beer equals fun, like,
yes.
We have all this stuff associated, so, like, I think part of, like, the reason, like, you're doing so well with this push for Liam's Law is because this generation is a lot more softer. They're more conscious. They actually want to get rid of plastic straws, plastic bags. There's a whole move of actually like bettering the world within this generation. So
and California usually is the leading state when it comes to those issues. So we thought this is great. Here's an opportunity to make a difference that will save lives. 3 Californians are killed every single day because of drunk driving. It costs Californian taxpayers $2 billion a year in costs related to drunk driving. So, and what you said about having fun, that's exactly what we say. We're not fighting the alcohol industry. We're not trying to say to people don't drink. We're just saying once you've been drinking, don't get behind the wheel. So this won't even affect the alcohol industry. That's what's really frustrating at times, because the restaurants and nightclubs and the alcohol industry is in the dark, not officially. They don't dare to come out because that would hurt their branding, because they know as well that this is the right thing to do. So they use lobbyists, dark money and dark lobbyists to fight what we're doing, and that will all be exposed.
Speaking of which, I've heard like there's like some people online have been posting comments and stuff, like bringing up conspiracy theories having to do with what you guys are doing. It's like I read some of them; they're hilarious.
Yeah,
like,
it's really sad. I just had someone this morning actually that wrote to me saying lowering the blood alcohol content won't make a difference, because all you do is hurt social drinkers, because you can drink Listerine and then you would blow a 0.05. But here, I could give you.
Why would you drink Listerine though?
And it is true. If you drink Listerine and do a breathalyzer test, it will have an effect. However, when was the last time you had Listerine, walked straight out to your car, started driving, and the cops pulled you right over, and then you did a breathalyzer test?
Probably never, because I've never drinking Listerine and swerved all over the place.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's what people say. So if you look at the most common reasons that people ask, or they're concerned about, is, oh, you're giving law enforcement more control. No, there has to be a probable cause for the police officer to pull you over in the first place, like you said. If you're swerving, for example. They don't know what your BAC level is when they pull you over. That's first and foremost. The second one is saying, oh, it's just a way to get that DUI money, to get law enforcement paid. Law enforcement don't get bounties for stopping people that have been drinking and driving. I promise you, drinking and driving is the least amount of fun for a law enforcement officer to deal with. It's sad to have to do it, and then it's about a few hours of paperwork for them. They have to show up in court and so on. And then another one was the state is doing it because now Uber and Lyft is making sure that people don't get DUIs. So this is a way for the state to make more money. Again, that DUI fine that someone gets for committing a crime, first and foremost, it's peanuts compared to the costs that it costs to society when it comes to drunk driving fatalities, such as productivity, people that are injured because of drunk driving, the legal costs, the medical costs, as well as when it comes to property damage. So, and that's what totals to about $2 billion in California alone. On a national level, it's $120 billion a year that American taxpayers pay because of drunk driving. So when they say, this is the state trying to enforce this, no, this was advocated by me and my wife, me and Michelle. We have no hidden agenda. We don't get paid. In fact, it's costing us a ton of time and money to do what we're doing. the people that you should look to, though, is the opposition. They do represent a special interest group. They do have something to gain, and they do have a hidden agenda with what they're doing. So how about looking at, and again, don't take my opinion for it, look at the statistics from other countries. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Ireland, you mentioned Russia, Germany, Sweden, countries with strong drinking cultures. They drink a lot more than Americans per capita, and yet we have a third of the amount of deaths due to drunk driving. And when those countries went from 0.08 to 0.05 or lower, the amount of deaths, surprise, surprise, went down a lot, but the alcohol consumption has continued to rise. It won't have an effect on that. So this fight isn't even necessary.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, you mentioned California too, and I want to get back at this because drinking and driving is not the only issue we have here, especially like since weed got legalized. It's like I see more people just like casually hitting the pipe, or I smell like marijuana, weed, as like the people are driving on the freeway. It's like, yeah, you won't get caught by a breathalyzer, but you're being equally as stupid. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like, yeah, but hopefully, I'm hoping people just wake up and it's like, hey, you're putting your life in danger,
Yes.
and if you're willing to put your life in danger, fine, cool. How
Yeah.
about other people who didn't sign up for this?
Exactly, and that's, if someone wants to drink themselves to death, it's sad that they want to do that, but that's their decision to make.
Mhm.
But anytime you put innocent people's lives at risk, that's no longer your decision to make. And just like you mentioned, marijuana has been legalized, and a lot of times,
You have public responsibility.
exactly, that's what it comes down to. And in countries such as Sweden and other European countries as well, it's just so looked down upon to drink and drive. It's not here. A lot of times, it's that selfish mindset where people say, well, I shouldn't have to pay these fines, or I shouldn't I need to have a way to get to work. But you made the decision. It was in your hands whether you drank or whether you decided to get behind the wheel, and especially when it comes to combining the two. And a lot of times with the opposition, they're very good at pointing the finger in other directions, like marijuana, like you mentioned. Marijuana and drinking is the problem, not, smoking weed and driving is the problem, not drunk driving. And don't get me wrong, any type of toxin, if you take a toxin, then you shouldn't get behind the wheel. And even though they bring up marijuana a lot of times, opiates is an even bigger problem. And in combination of those with alcohol.
Yeah, especially Xanax and alcohol. People like a lot of some people I know that I hang out with, man, they just go completely brain dead on that stuff.
Absolutely, and then again, if that's what they want to do, that's a very sad decision, but that's up to them. But once you make that decision, and then getting behind the wheel, it's not your decision to make. So, as a good citizen, and as a good friend, don't allow. It's not just about not drinking and driving. Don't let your friends get behind the wheel either when they've been drinking, and that's our responsibility as citizens of a state and a country.
Yeah.
And then again, when it comes to the opposition, they're very good at pointing the finger in other directions, saying, "Oh, drinking and driving isn't the problem. Texting and driving is the problem." And again,
you're not wrong. Like those are all problems,
Absolutely.
but it's like alcohol is a bigger one. Like you can like measure it. You most of the time somebody gets in the crash, you can't say, oh, they were texting and driving. But if they're on alcohol, there's like an easy way to tell if they were drunk.
And you're 100% right. These are also problems, and you shouldn't text when you drive. And these are all it's just common
You have
sense.
Siri,
and a
you
selfish
have hands
decision.
free. You can like actually tell your phone, oh, text somebody this.
Yes,
You
exactly.
you literally can do that.
I
so.
do it myself all the time. I have a hands free, and I, because we're working very, very hard, a lot of times I have to get messages out, and I don't take my eyes off the road and just say, hey Siri, send a text message to this person, and boom, done. But even when you look at texting and driving, the US sees some 3,500 lives lost to texting and driving, which is a huge problem and disgusting, quite frankly. People should stop doing it. But when it comes, nothing takes more lives on the roads than drunk driving till today. Over 10,000 lives lost per year. That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. Yet, nothing is being done about it. And again, here we are with a solution. Very few pieces of legislation can be backed by so much science and so much statistics. And when the opposition wrote a piece not long ago in the Daily Breeze, and I'm a little bit upset, I'm very upset with the Daily Breeze and other newspapers that don't fact check these special interest groups. And one of the things that they wrote, they're saying, because it's known as Liam's Law, and they know where the parents saying, no law should be based on a tragic event and emotions. And they're 100% right, they shouldn't. But this isn't. This is backed on statistics and facts. And again, when you have more than 100 countries that have done it, if it was one country, again, in my opinion, it doesn't take a highly intelligent human being to realize if you have more alcohol in your system, your response time is going to be slower, your decision making is going to be off, your coordination isn't as good. We know these things. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So don't get
like
behind
first
the
and
wheel.
foremost, it impairs your judgment. It impairs your, that's it.
Exactly.
If it impairs your judgment, do you even need to look steps 2 through whatever?
No,
you don't.
You don't.
And it's a known fact. Nobody who's drinking alcohol or has heard of alcohol, who's seen anyone drinking, can argue that.
And that's why people drink.
Yeah.
To relax, to not worry about their day-to-day problems and to feel good, right? That's the purpose of drinking alcohol for most. And that's what's really frustrating when you see the opposition is the opposition. They are doing it for money. But when you have regular citizens that, like you said, you see these comments and
it's sort of like American culture too, because I think a lot of people have similar to a PTSD from historical, the Prohibition, where our alcohol is being they're putting more limits on our alcohol. No, we can't go back to the Prohibition era. God, that'll be unfortunate.
We've been called that as well, a neo-prohibition organization, and again, I really don't care. And again, what we're saying is,
do you think some of those commenters who are coming in are plants?
Oh yeah. Grassroots management put on by the opposition, which is called ABI, American Beverage Institute, led by a man called Rick Berman. And
because I don't think people like Alex Jones out of nowhere would be oh, this is another prohibition. Not even that guy would. Would have to intentionally create this scenario.
I would actually love to have an alcohol company work with us. We have had bars work with us. Again, we're not trying to stop people from drinking alcohol. One of the suggestions, for example, was to put the responsibility on drunk drivers on a bartender at a bar. I completely disagree. First and foremost, a bar's job is to sell alcohol. A bartender in a busy bar has no chance of seeing how drunk people are.
And have you tried to deny service to a drunk person? That gets violent very quickly.
Very. And also, when it comes down to it, the bartender doesn't know if that person is driving. If anything, you should put on the valet parking where people would stumble out to get the car keys from the valet. You shouldn't put it on the bartender because A, it's impossible to do it, and B, it's just it's wrong because again, maybe they are taking an Uber or Lyft or a taxi or have a designated driver. Maybe they're walking home, right?
I used to be a bartender, and the only advice they gave us as far as stop serving drinks is, are they belligerent? Are they about to fight? Or have you noticed them drinking so much that they might get alcohol poisoning?
Exactly.
That's when you do the cutoff.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing these countries that have had a continued rise of alcohol sales and even studies that we have seen where the people are not driving. Even when, even if they're willing to drink and drive, somewhere they have somewhat of a conscience and say, I shouldn't drink too much. If people are not driving, if they take an Uber or Lyft, for example, they're willing to stay out longer and drink more. So it will just positively affect the alcohol industry. And that's why it's very frustrating to have this fight. And it's also frustrating when we see these people that have been fed, not straight up lies, because the opposition is smart, they know they can't just lie, but they skew facts and they point fingers in different directions, right? But what we are frustrated with is the fact that this fight doesn't even need to take place because it won't again affect the alcohol industry, and two, the fact that people are trying to fight what we are doing. For us, it's too late. We've already lost our son. Of course, I don't want Liam's siblings and future grandchildren to be at risk.
We've
but we're
kind
doing
of
this for other people.
skipped over the reason why actually this called Liam's life. What pushed you and your wife to fight for the change in the law from point 8 to point 5. Could you just? I know you've probably told the story 100 times.
No, it's okay. A lot of people that don't know about it, but two years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago, we lost our son Liam, who was 15 months at the time. And you know, as a fighter and a martial artist, I'm a second degree black belt in Krav Maga, and I work a lot with law enforcement. To protect my family was always something that I felt I knew how to do. And had someone told me that a 72-year-old woman was going to take my son's life, I would have thought it was a joke, but that's what happened. At 3:30 in the afternoon, a woman that was 72 years old drove drunk, and when my wife's sister, who was 15 at the time, she's 17 now, crossed the pedestrian crossing, she blew straight through the crossing and rendered my sister-in-law unconscious with a broken leg, but Liam didn't make it, and he was declared brain dead 48 hours later. And we decided to donate our son's organs. So we also spokespeople for organ donation and how important that is. But again, the low-hanging fruit when it comes to drunk driving, you know, here is something that we can do, and that's what's frustrating, that both there's an opposition allowed when, in the end of the day, we know this is going to save lives, and two, civilians that are trying to fight it, when, again, if you're not educated, that's fine, but then educate yourself. You don't have a reason or an excuse not to educate yourself in today's society with Google and YouTube and everything that's out there. And all you have to do is go to liamslife.org, and you can see Y.05 and all the benefits of it. And we're doing this to make sure that other parents don't have to go through what we've gone through. Someone is killed in this country every 49th minute. Someone is injured due to drunk driving every 90th second. 66% of the US population will at some point be affected by drunk driving. It takes more children's lives between age 0 and 14 than guns. It's the number one thing that that takes children's lives in this country. Why on earth would we not change it?
I agree.
And the best part of this is that people can actually be part of this now. They can be part of this fight.
I was actually gonna just go into hey, this sounds like a good thing. Where can people come to support you, and whether it's funding or sharing their information?
Well, they can send a text message to 313131 and write 05BAC. That automatically sends out an email to the chair of the Public Safety Committee, Reggie Sawyer, who, so the way, and I didn't know this before, in order to get a piece of legislation to actually pass, to become a law, you have to have an assembly member or senator sponsoring the bill. We have that now, and that was Assemblywoman Burke, Assemblymember Flora, and Senator Hill. Once you have that, it goes to committee. And in our case, it went to the Public Safety Committee. The chair of the Public Safety Committee has decided that he wants to table this bill, which means it won't even be voted on. How that can be allowed in a democratic country, I'm not sure. Because that to me is not democracy, that one man can make the decision on if this bill is going to get voted on or not.
That's when people come up and say, well, technically it's a democratic republic, it's not a democracy.
But it's not a democracy anymore. So, by sending that text message to 313131, it will get an email together that goes out to Assemblymember Sawyer to make him realize that we are trying to make this change and that people support it. Option 2 is actually to call his office, and that really works and helps as well. So if people want to do that, they can call the chair, Sawyer, 213-744-2111. Again, that's 213-744-2111, and just say that they support Assembly Bill 1713, Liam's Law, and let them know that they want it to be heard by the Public Safety Committee.
Yeah. By the way, so you check your phone. You know what time it says. I gave my phone to Marian because the food the food that we ordered, my boss from that place called and was like, hey, please, I want to stay on schedule.
12:20 right now.
12:20.
12:20.
Let's just wrap it up because our talk is at 12:30. It's in 10 minutes. You have a book you're also selling. Let's just plug that in real quick.
Yes, it's called Life is a Moment, which spells out Liam. The reason why I wrote the book is partially just for my son, in his honor and his legacy, but also because I've met a lot of parents and especially a lot of fathers that have lost children as well. And it's very common, unfortunately, that as a man, we are not taught how to speak about emotions, and a lot of times it's looked up on something as weak, having emotions and crying or being upset or sad. It's looked down upon, and I figured the stigma of being a fighter, and being tough and macho, if I can open up and speak about emotions and what we went through, because as humans we will all at some point experience grief. It's just part of life. Maybe not as traumatic as me and my wife did, but whether it's a family member, a parent, a sibling, a loved one, a pet even, we will experience grief. And how to deal with it, it is very, very important, because if you don't deal with it in the right way, a lot of times it becomes toxic, unfortunately, and then instead of one life lost, then potentially 2 or 3 lives are lost just because you don't find your way back to happiness. So that's why I wrote the book, and it became an Amazon bestseller. And my goal with the book was to just make sure that other parents don't have to go through what we've gone through.
Thank you very much, Marcus.
Thank you.
This is Marcus Kowal. He's Alright. Thank you for tuning in with our interview with Marcus Kowal. Make sure to buy his book, Life is a Moment, on Amazon. Text the number. We will have it in our description and put it up on the screen again for you to support Liam's Law, AB 1713. Thank you very much. Make sure to click subscribe, hit that bell icon, and soon we'll be on iTunes, so look forward to downloading us on iTunes.
Thank you. Alright, so we have 9 minutes.